Blood poured from the old man's arm as the fierce German shepherd lunged without warning. Neighbors screaming. Time frozen. Walter Briggs, a decorated war hero, crumpled on the sidewalk, stunned and betrayed by a protector turned predator. But what happened next will shock even those who thought they'd seen everything. But first, let's go back to the beginning. The silence after the ambulance wailed away was thicker than the Missouri humidity. Neighbors stood frozen on sidewalks, hands covering mouths, eyes wide and wet. No one quite knew what to say. They'd seen Walter Briggs, stoic, deliberate, the kind of man who still saluted the flag at sunrise, lying pale and motionless on the ground, like he was just some old man in the wrong place at the wrong time. But he wasn't. He was Walter, the old Marine who baked banana bread for the new neighbors and fixed Mrs. Carter's mailbox when the HOA wouldn't. Inside his bungalow, the porch light still glowed, though morning was well underway. His mail sat unread in the box. A newspaper, damp with dew, lay near the step where he'd dropped it earlier. The red brick house suddenly felt emptier, hollower, like a local monument missing its cornerstone. Across the street, Officer Nolan Reese stood stiff beside his patrol SUV, hand trembling around Vector's leash, now locked tight. The dog's ears were pinned back, his body crouched low in something between confusion and fear. Reese kept his eyes on the bloodstain seeping into the concrete, unable to meet the glares of the neighbors gathering around. A retired mailman named Hal, who'd known Walter since the 70s, broke the silence. "You shouldn't even be on this block, if you can't control that animal." Reese opened his mouth, but no words came. His jaw worked as if chewing on guilt, but he said nothing. Inside the ambulance, Walter drifted in and out of consciousness. His lips were dry, and the rhythmic squeak of the wheels beneath him sounded far away, like artillery echoing over a ridge. A paramedic pressed gauze hard against the wound, already wrapped in field dressing. Blood still leaked through in a dark, stubborn bloom. "You're going to be okay, sir," the medic said, voice low and calm. "We're almost there." Walter blinked slowly. "That dog came out of nowhere," he murmured, more to himself than anyone. Back in the neighborhood, word spread like wildfire. Phones buzzed. Texts flew. The bite wasn't just news, it was a shockwave. By noon, someone had posted a Ring doorbell video to the neighborhood Facebook group. It showed Vector breaking free and lunging, Walter's startled turn, the fall, the red. Comments poured in. "This is unacceptable. We need answers. That dog should be put down." Poor Mr. Briggs. He always waved at my kids on their walk to school. But not all the responses were fueled by outrage. Some turned inward, confused, torn. Should a dog be blamed for doing what it was trained to do? Where was the handler? Why wasn't the leash secured? We need to talk about how these private firms are operating in our community. By dinner time, a hand-painted sign had appeared outside Walter's home. "We love you, Walter. Get well soon." Bouquets followed. Sunflowers, daffodils, the kinds of flowers that looked like smiles in a vase. Someone tied a faded American flag around the mailbox. Children left drawings. One depicted Walter as a caped superhero, standing tall beside a giant red heart. Meanwhile, inside a corner office at Apex Private Security, the regional manager scrubbed through body cam footage, his jaw tightening with each frame. The firm had promised discretion, safety, professionalism. This was none of those things. Vector was supposed to be a deterrent, not a weapon. Reese was supposed to be the adult in the room, not the cautionary tale. Legal calls had already started, and in a quiet hospital room, Walter Briggs lay beneath thin cotton sheets. Monitors beeped. Nurses checked vitals. Outside his window, a nurse in training read his file and whispered to another student, "He charged enemy lines. Alone. Twice." Back in the neighborhood, dusk settled in. The sidewalks emptied. Porch lights flicked on, one by one, but the bloodstain remained, a stark, rust-colored smear on the pavement where something had ruptured. Not just skin and sinew, but the fragile trust that held this quiet corner of Missouri together. The press conference was supposed to be a small, measured affair, just a granddaughter speaking on behalf of her wounded grandfather. But by the time April Briggs stepped up to the podium, a makeshift stand assembled outside Mercy General's glass facade. The parking lot was packed. Reporters with boom mics jostled beside veterans in folded chairs. Behind them, neighbors clutched hand-painted signs. Justice for Walter. Veterans deserve safety. Bad dogs aren't born. They're trained. April stood still, the Missouri wind lifting loose strands of her dark hair. She wore no makeup, no pinstripe blazer, just jeans and a simple blue blouse, the kind of choice that told the crowd she wasn't there to play politics. Her hands gripped the edges of her notes like they were the only thing keeping her grounded. Then she spoke. My grandfather, Walter Briggs, is a man who once crawled through enemy trenches to drag out wounded brothers in arms, she began, voice clear but taut. Now he lies in a hospital bed because someone decided a rushed security contract was worth more than public safety. Camera shutters clicked. Somewhere in the crowd, a Vietnam vet muttered, Amen. April didn't blink. Yesterday, Apex Security suggested that my grandfather's behavior was suspicious. Suspicious? You mean his morning walk, the same one he's taken every day for 12 years? With the same windbreaker, the same route, the same damn Marine cap? The word damn hit like a flare gun. The crowd murmured louder, rippling with indignation. But this isn't just about one dog bite, she continued. It's about a chain of deliberate decisions. I've interviewed 3 former employees of Apex. One described Officer Reese, the handler, as lazy and reckless. Another alleged that Vector's final behavioral assessment was forged. She let the word hang, acidic and heavy. Then I found this. April held up a red folder, shaking it once for emphasis. 6 months ago, Vector bit a 10-year-old in Denton, Texas. Apex paid off the family in a closed settlement and moved Vector here, without disclosing his history. Not to regulators, not to the community, not even to the damn neighborhood council. Gasps now, audible, raw. This is not a case of a good dog gone rogue. This is not a tragedy of circumstance. This is negligence, systemic, calculated, avoidable negligence. The tension in April's voice cracked slightly on avoidable. She looked down for half a second, composing herself, then went on. My grandfather taught me that accountability matters more than comfort. He told me once, if you see something broken and you walk past it, you just told the world it's okay to stay broken. She looked into the cameras now, eyes sharp. I'm not walking past this. That was when the first chant started. Just a few voices at first, but it built fast. Justice for Walter! Justice for Walter! April stepped back, emotion finally showing through her stoic posture. Behind her, nurses wheeled Walter's bed to the window so he could see the gathering. He raised a slow, trembling hand, just high enough for a salute. Inside the Apex security offices, the mood had soured into full-blown crisis. PR reps scrambled, calling legal, scrubbing social media of old posts, rewriting bios. The regional director barked orders while watching April's speech on loop. The dented illusion of community partnership they'd built was collapsing. This wasn't just a reputational threat, it was a cultural reckoning. Outside, April met with community members, taking down names for a formal complaint. Veterans groups offered support. A state legislator who had quietly attended the event promised a public inquiry. But none of that changed what was carved into the concrete of that suburban street. The stain, the silence that followed, and the anger now boiling under every porch light. The truth wasn't just beneath the fang. It was baked into the foundation of every corner Apex had cut, every silence they'd paid for, every form signed without scrutiny. The bite was a spark. April was the flame. The collapse came not with a whimper, but with a thunderous public reckoning. By the time the evening news rolled in, Apex Security was no longer a faceless company hiding behind legalese. It was a national cautionary tale unraveling in real time. The regulatory board didn't wait for red tape. The governor himself had reportedly made a call. At 4:17 p.m., Vector's certification was not just suspended, it was permanently revoked. The digital notice time-stamped and leaked to the press within minutes. It read like a death sentence, for the firm's credibility. Failure to complete mandatory aggression management protocols, falsified handler evaluations, pattern of unreported incidents. Then came the email dump. It hit the web like a dropped match in dry brush. Dozens of internal communications, time-stamped and bitterly incriminating. The worst of them was dated just 8 weeks earlier. "We can't afford another delay. Strip the aggression module. If it backfires, PR will mop it up." Dear of K-9 Ops, Apex Security. That single line ricocheted across media outlets like a bullet. It was the smoking gun April had suspected but never expected to see handed over so cleanly. Within an hour, #strip the module was trending nationwide, and Apex's website was taken offline after being flooded with angry comments and one-star reviews. At Apex headquarters, chaos took a formal shape. The CEO resigned under pressure. A press release with careful phrasing, stepping aside to allow the company to heal, was laughed off the airwaves. As for Nolan Reese, the fallout was absolute. Animal Welfare Services issued a permanent ban from professional handling. His handler license was revoked with prejudice, and a background review began into his other certifications. The irony was bitter and poetic. Reese, once a man so obsessed with control, now entirely stripped of it. The tech warehouse? They didn't even bother with a statement. By sundown, a white contractor van rolled up to the Apex security trailer on site. One by one, guards filed out carrying duffel bags. The warehouse quietly hired a local firm with 0 K-9 units. Just people, trained and vetted. Back at Mercy General, Room 208 had become an unofficial command post. Walter, propped up with pillows, watched the news cycle flick through milestone after milestone. The sling on his arm looked almost ceremonial now, a badge of consequence. Flanking him were April, still fielding interviews, and 2 Marine veterans, Marcus Hawk Hall and Lester Diggs Reynolds, who had driven in from Illinois after seeing Walter's face on the news. They hadn't seen each other since 1972. Now they shared peanut brittle and stories about Okinawa like no time had passed. "I'm not angry anymore," Walter said, eyes crinkling with a wry smile. "Just glad to see someone fight with a pen instead of a rifle." Hawk let out a low whistle. "Hell, Walt, that girl of yours could run for office." April just laughed. "Let me take down one corrupt institution at a time." That night, the hospital staff found a new item beside Walter's bed, a dark green baseball cap with bold white stitching. No one saw who placed it, but it didn't matter. It read, "Retired Marine, still raising hell." Walter chuckled when he saw it. Now that's regulation headwear. And Vector, his story too took a turn. Not in disgrace, but in quiet redemption. After the investigation, a retired K-9 trainer from Arkansas offered to take him. No cameras followed the transfer, no headlines marked it. But word got around. There, on a wide pasture flanked by oak trees, Vector traded commands for calm. No more concrete perimeters, no more shouted orders, just soft hands, warm meals, and birdsong. He was no longer a symbol of negligence, just a dog, finally allowed to be one. Justice had not just arrived. It had bloomed loud and unflinching under the late Missouri sun. And for once, the ending felt more than fair. It felt earned.